Hello, everyone. Coming up this week, we're going to talk about Walt Disney World thrills compared to Universal Orlando thrills. From the Bob Varley Studio in Orlando, Florida, this is the Universal edition of the Dis Unplugged.
This is episode 250 of the Dis Unplugged Universal Edition.
The Dis Unplugged Universal Edition is brought to you by Dreams Unlimited Travel, experts at helping you plan the perfect Universal vacation. Visit them on the web at www.dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of the Dis Unplugged Universal Edition. I'm your host, Craig Williams. Today, I'm joined along by my co-host, Rhino.
Along by your co-host. Hello.
Along by my co-host. And then back on the controls, we have Corey Fiescanaro.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, so we got a fun little episode here today based on a thread started by a poster on disboards.com. You may have forgotten about that website. We talk about it every now and then, but not all the time. But yeah, in this case, I'm looking for more ideas of, evergreen episodes, as you will, in between some of the news until at least more stuff starts picking up. And
those Halloween houses are going to be starting to be... Wow.
Yeah.
Those Halloween Horror Night houses are going to start dropping soon.
Well, we have that. I know Bourne is getting very, very close to opening up, so we're going to have that coming up. Of course, Dockside Inn and Suites is coming up with whatever coverage we end up doing in regards to that. Plus, there's just a whole lot. We have to continue doing dining reviews in the park and such, so we have a lot coming up, but, a lot of these in-betweens, you might be like, hey, they wore that outfit 3 weeks ago. Why don't they ever change their clothes? It's because we're trying to do some of these evergreen episodes in bulk a little bit more, and so yeah, I went purging away, plugging away, I don't know what the word is, over on disboards.com, and went specifically to the Universal Studios Islands of Adventure forums to look through and see if there was any ideas to give me good episode ideas and any good threads to give me episode ideas. And this one I found, and I chose it ultimately because it reminded me of an episode that I did a long, long time ago back with my first co-host of the show, Sean Thompson. We did our series Like This, Try That. It's very similar. This one will be very similar to that, but, of course, we're going to have to throw that Crino attitude in as well with it. And
Crino, you didn't.
Really give us some awards, some fake awards to these choices as well, whoever will win. And ultimately, it was nice because one great poster in here, Nash Smart Guy, did all the work for me in terms of what was the comparison. So we're not even going to say this is all done by Disboards. This isn't our personal opinions on the comparison. This is what this one poster kind of laid out in this thread here. So that's how we're going to play this one. And it's I feel like this is a nice little. This will either come before or at the end of our trilogy of Universal and Thrills, because we also had a fun series that I'm not sure if it's been released or not yet that kind of goes through in-depth Universal Studios Florida and Islands of Adventure, looking at all the different attraction shows and saying, hey, what's the reality of the thrills in this? Is it scary? Is it not? What is it? So we'll have those either already released or coming up for you soon there, but this is the fun one going along with it. So let's not waste any more time in this, and let's start getting into comparing Walt Disney World thrills to Universal Orlando thrills based on what this Nash Smart Guy says. And maybe we'll throw in some of the other posters there too. So Nash Smart Guy is kicking off the list with The Mummy versus Rock and Roller Coaster, starring Aerosmith.
Oh, see, I thought Rock and Roller Coaster would have been compared to Rip Ride Rocket, but...
So you don't think that comparing the thrill aspect of Mummy and Rock and Roller Coaster, Rock and Roller Coaster, starring Aerosmith, is a fair comparison?
I don't think so. Do you?
I want to hear your reasoning why.
I think because even though they're both two indoor other than them being two indoor roller coasters, it's kind of like, I don't know. Actually, maybe it is. I don't know. It's the upside down aspect. It feels like it's not like I don't know, Craig.
Well, Nash Smart Guy says The Mummy is equal to Rock and Roller Coaster without the inversions, but with cool effects and stops and starts, including backwards.
Yeah, but there's no stops and starts in Rock and Roller Coaster. I feel like they're two very different experiences.
Okay.
I haven't done these rides in a while, but I remember Rock and Roller Coaster being smooth and The Mummy being not so smooth.
The Mummy definitely, when it has its stopping moments, like the one moment it comes to a complete halt, it is very punishing on the bottom.
Yeah.
Rock and Roller Coaster.
Not on your bottom.
I think I meant to say on your body at the same time too, but
yeah, you did.
there's a bit of a flub there. But no, the Mummy definitely has a couple moments where it feels a little bit intense. Rock and Roller Coaster, if you sit in the back, in any of the back half, it's an awful experience. And, you know, for a launch coaster, you don't even, like, a lot of people say, like, oh, I want to sit in the front or the back. In my opinion, on a launch coaster, really the best seat is right in the middle. That's the most, you know, that's kind of the seat that gets the best of both worlds on it. It's different if it's a gravity coaster where, you know, you want that back because you're constantly being pulled over hills and stuff. Like, think Big Thunder Mountain Railroad in that comparison, or maybe you want the front row because you want to feel that pushing moment right as you get down to the bottom of the hill and get that extra thrill of being looking straight down and such. So Rock and Roller Coaster, I think, depending, if you sit in the back side, it's a little bit intense, middle, kind of well-rounded. Front row on Rock and Roller Coaster is not really that bad either. It's really that back half that's kind of bad, but definitely in the way they jerk you around, I would say they're pretty equal in that regards, but Rhino is still, I'm going to have to side with Rhino on this. Two very different attractions.
Yeah, it's like the only thing that's similar is that they're inside. And they're coaster based, I guess, because the Mummy tells an actual, like, yeah, I get that there is a story with Rock and Roller Coaster, but the Mummy's telling a story as you're on the coaster. Yeah. It's a storytelling coaster, whereas the Rock and Roller Coaster, like, the story's already like done by the time you get on it. That you're just in a car ride. But I'm confused. What am I trying to award here? Which of the two attractions is better, or which is scarier?
The first part of this is seeing if we consider this an equal comparison in that regard.
No.
Would we say that there is a better comparison for the Mummy with something at Disney?
That is a good question. Seven Dwarfs Mine Train?
No, I don't. See, I wouldn't even consider that. I think it's a little too smooth. If anything, even though it's terrible, I would say almost like the bounciness of something like Primeval Whirl is a closer.
Like the Mummy?
The Mummy is a better, but I'm saying there are those, it's in terms of like hills and stuff with it and some couple stops, not the spinning aspect of it, but in terms of intensity, if you're matching intensities, I would say they're too closer to each other.
I don't know. Slinky Dog?
No.
Slinky Dog's definitely more tame than this one.
Yeah. Maybe there just isn't a direct comparison. Maybe there's not.
I think it is. I think it's Seven Dwarfs, but
okay.
It's fine. I think Seven Dwarfs is a little less intense, but I still think it's a similar experience. It stops and goes and it tells the story as you go.
Rhino, I've had moments where I've been out walking on the street and that felt more dangerous than Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. I'm pretty sure, like, except for the one drop, you are moving. You can walk faster through that entire attraction.
I guess, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's slow. But anyways, but with this, what Nash Smart Guy said, Mummy or Rock and Roller Coaster, if you could only have one.
Mummy.
Mummy? I agree with you.
Yeah.
Gotta get that Mummy.
Yeah.
Gotta get that Brendan.
Yeah, you gotta get Brendan Fraser.
You gotta do it all. So I think in that comparison, Mummy takes the cake.
The king cake.
Oh, the king cake.
Coffee cake. Oh, okay. Maybe we should just had cake today.
What about sesame cake?
Stop eating my sesame cake. I'm not going to yell anymore, though. Yeah, that's an old school one.
Okay, very old school. Next one up. in this one is a little bit of a stretch here, but Nash wanted to bring up Transformers and Spider-Man because they are the same exact ride system, that moving motion simulator. In this case, said, can't think of a WDW equivalent. Lots of screens in 3D while riding through in a vehicle, but sort of like Dinosaur.
No. How dare you? I get what he's saying, though. I get what he's saying. Like a motion simulator car you're going through. Okay.
Okay, well, let's break it down to what it is.
Okay.
How would you qualify Transformers and Spider-Man, The Amazing Adventures of Spider-Man? Because I know how I would qualify them. I would call them moving motion simulators.
Yeah.
And what would you qualify Dinosaur as?
The best thing ever.
You want to know what I would qualify it as?
I know. A moving motion simulator.
Yeah, because it is a motion simulator. You are on a base
The
that
Jeep's
is
not
moving
really
around.
driving.
I mean, it is moving on that bus bar track all throughout the attraction, but what you're feeling
the hills and the
in there
shaking,
is
the bouncing.
different. And the same thing goes for Transformers and Spider-Man.
I could see that. I could see the ride vehicle of, like, especially Spider-Man. A lot of that traction, like, on the ground and stuff. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no. I mean, it literally even does that in Spider-Man. It makes the wheel sounds and stuff as you're riding around in the scoop. So I think that's actually a very fair comparison in this case. I wouldn't even compare. If you're looking at Transformers and Spider-Man, I wouldn't even try to compare to anything else at Walt Disney World. I think you already nailed it on the head with saying Dinosaur. Again, two very different styles. Because sitting in a vehicle versus feeling like you're riding in that Jeep and getting all nitty gritty, like it's
Time traveling and whatnot.
Time traveling, it's
does.
Definitely two different ride vehicles, but ultimately the same. It's the same kind of payoff in the style or sense of the ride. So I don't think we have to really judge them on is it a fair comparison, and we don't have to think of anything else we would suggest. But I'm going to throw Transformers out the window. Spider-Man versus Dinosaur. You're going Spider-Man?
I don't know. It's hard. I'm thinking Spider-Man.
You are on record saying Dinosaur is your favorite attraction, what you consider
Walt
to be
Disney
the best
World.
thing.
At Walt Disney World. Although I think the Rise of the Resistance is probably my favorite attraction at Walt Disney World now. But it's tough. It's tough. I think that there's less that. I think that Dinosaur could start aging a lot more rapidly than Spider-Man is, because I feel like Spider-Man is kind of timeless, and I guess dinosaurs are also timeless. But I don't know. It's that hard aspect of dinosaurs. They're physically there, and you're physically in that environment. And Spider-Man, it's kind of like like you're in the environment, but then it's like projected and you're with Spider-Man. And I just loved the Spider-Man animated series growing up so much that
that's a good point.
It's a tough one. Again, I feel like it is two different experiences. Yeah. But if they were like, this is it, son, you've got one ride left and that's it. You have to pick one of the two.
It's a tough call.
Yeah.
It's a tough call.
Because I've always loved dinosaurs and time traveling.
Yeah, I will say the one thing that doesn't benefit Dinosaur is the fact that if the animatronics aren't working well or at all,
that T-Rex is never working. Who's eating the dinosaur in the beginning anymore?
If it's not working, then it definitely loses on the experience. Where Amazing Adventures of Spider-Man doesn't, sometimes some of the effects in there won't.
Every
go
now and
off,
then the box doesn't float.
Yeah, so there's little stuff like that. But because the most of the visuals in that attraction are screens and not physical environments like Dinosaur, it's a lot more reliable. It's kind of, you have to look at it from a show perspective, which one's giving the better show every time. I would kind of edge towards Spider-Man.
Well, because Spider-Man also takes multiple worlds and weaves them together. Yeah. It takes that physical reality and then you feel like you're there with this animated character,
And I also love the fact that we know it's a attraction that can and has been upgraded. It went from the original film projectors to saying, okay, we live in a different world now. It can't be this attraction anymore. We need to freshen it up and do 4K digital projectors why am I so screwed up over this?
Let's take a running jump at it.
But
projectors. No, that doesn't feel right now either.
It doesn't feel right.
Is it tartar
sauce? Yeah, it's like, once it had that upgrade, it felt fresh. What happens when they go through the next one? Whether it's 8K beyond, who knows?
Live action.
Live action could even be that too. But it's tough. I think
Spider-Man is just a little bit above, a little bit for me.
I'm edging towards Spider-Man as well too.
Yeah.
So Kryno goes to Spider-Man in that occasion. Yay.
Yeah.
Yay. Okay. This next one, it's a bit of a doozy. In terms of stretching, this is definitely the biggest stretch that we are going to see in this entire episode. Fast and Furious Supercharged and Skull Island Reign of Kong are sort of the same as Kilimanjaro Safaris.
What? They're both in a Jeep.
That's really the only comparison. And we're not laughing at you, Nash Smart Guy, if you watch this episode. I just like that we're essentially going to get to the point here, especially with Skull Island Reign of Kong versus Kilimanjaro Safaris. It is kind of
like you are technically on safari.
Yeah. So,
all right. Actually, there's some valid point raised here.
The poster says ride vehicles are driving inside on those two attractions, Fast and Furious and Kong, and surrounded by 3D screens versus Kilimanjaro Safaris, obviously being in the real world. I'm going to scrap Fast and Furious from there and really do Kong versus Safaris. That's the better comparison. Both single, standalone vehicles. Obviously Kilimanjaro Safaris has a head up because they have a non-robotic driver, and it's a real person, and they're actually driving.
Sometimes they are more robotic than the robots.
Oh, that's harsh. Man, that's tough.
That's happened to me.
Yeah. Oh, no, it's happened to me, too, before, where they don't really talk the entire time.
Yeah.
You can tell, you're having a bad day.
Sit down! You're like, oh,
sit down.
I'm one of those.
Giraffe. Reticulated.
Yeah.
Reticulated.
That's a baobab tree. Sit down. Sit down.
It's a termite mound. It's not real. Stop
ruin
it.
the surprise.
It's not real. But anyways... Yeah, so I don't think there's any more fair comparison between the two, despite the fact that it sounds bonkers that we're even comparing the two. But if you like safaris, why not try out Kong? Rhino, which one are you going to have to level with?
I feel like the safari, since I am in real life seeing exotic animals that I would never see otherwise.
I mean, I will say the Kong animatronic is super impressive. The final one, the big giant head, the big monkey.
I always want to give him a hug.
But yeah, even though he has no potty to really hug, truly.
I know, but his mouth, he could eat you.
He could. So yeah, I think safaris is just going to have to kind of be better on this one. So the Kryno for moving around in a Jeep slowly, in this case, goes to Kilimanjaro Safaris at Walt Disney World. So they have that. So next one, and this is one that I believe we probably made on the original show when I did it way back when, the Simpsons ride versus Star Tours. So in essence, two very different things. Simpsons is a bunch of vehicles rising up all together into a giant IMAX dome where you can look around and you can see the other vehicles. Also very similar to Despicable Me Minion Mayhem, whereas Star Tours, you are in a personal box as you are moving through this motion simulator and can't see any other vehicles around you, only what is on the screen in front of you. So in essence, two different things, but yes, the motion of the two is very, very similar in the fact that it's trying to accomplish the same thing. A motion simulator, making you feel like you're doing incredible things in areas that you're not actually at.
And always trying to choke down the vomit.
Yeah, and trying to make Rhino sick and Fiasco sick. And I'm just going to say this here. I wouldn't compare them to anything else. I think it's a fair comparison to the two. And without a doubt, Star Tours is so far superior.
Well, I think just the fact that like Star Tours, you can have this randomized experience that it can kind of change multiple times while you do it too is really cool too. And plus, I think because you're in the vehicle, it adds this element of like personalization to it. Like, this is my Star Speeder versus like
exactly. And that's the problem with the Simpsons ride. As much as I love it, because I do think the attraction
it's hilarious.
Yeah, the attraction is a love letter to that show. but I get taken out of the experience every single time. And that's like where I love watching the Back to the Future, the ride special feature on my TV at home. Even though I'm not moving around with it, I feel like I get the idea of the attraction. But, you know, it's when it's in that big giant room and you're looking around at everyone else, I feel like it kind of takes you out of it a little bit.
Yeah.
And I say the same thing about Despicable Me. It's not a personal experience, whereas something like Star Tours, you know what? For all you know, you're not just raising up a slightly away from the walkways and bouncing around. You're actually in space or a different planet. So
You're part of the story. You're helping the adventure.
So
The adventure continue.
yeah. In this case, the award,
Oh,
the Chrono, for
Goes to-
best box making you sick, boxcar making you sick.
statues.
Status. So
Status.
I believe that's 2-2 if we're judging, but we're not. We're not. Are we judging?
No,
we're
it's
judging
2-2.
which one you should
What's
go
the
to.
point of playing a game if you're not
Yeah.
keeping score?
Ultimately, whatever one wins, that's the one you have to visit. So if you have a Universal Orlando vacation planned, you'll have to cancel it.
Yep.
No ifs, ands, or buts about
Let
this.
the Dreams agents at Dreams Unlimited Travel.
Help you decide between attractions. Okay, next one up. They wrote Fantastic Journey. I believe they meant Harry Potter in the Forbidden Journey.
It
Easy
is
mistake.
fantastic.
And here's where it gets dicey again. The poster compares it to Soaring and / Flight of Passage together, but it then admits the vehicles move on a track and flip you forward, sideways, and back, but mostly like with the Soaring comparison, the feet dangling, but movement-wise, I think in terms of thrills, they compare it a little bit more to Flight of Passage in that regard. It's a tough comparison.
I don't think there's anything like Forbidden Journey, so I think that's the hard part with that comparison. I guess I can kind of see like with some of the screen-based parts of Forbidden Journey why that's compared to Flight of Passage, but there's no comparing.
No, in terms of that, I think the cheese really does stand alone. I think now I'm saying Fantastic Journey.
Yeah.
I wrote it down. Forbidden Journey is unlike anything else. Like, you know, if Interventions was still around and we were saying like, oh, the sum of all thrills, then yeah, because that was also a Kuka arm shaking you around a lot, just wasn't moving around. So maybe you could give it that. But, you know, we always, outside of Forbidden Journey, have told this before, we tried to compare it saying like, it's like the movements of Spider-Man, but you are on, your feet are dangling like something like Soarin', but it's intense. You have the restraint bar coming down over you because it's not easy going in that sense. And you do flip
you
over
tip
onto your back
backwards.
at one point in time. So we try to explain it like that. So I guess I understand the scope. Actually, it's funny now to think about it. We completely missed that. Simpsons is probably closer to Flight of Passage in that same style.
Actually, yeah, I would say it definitely is. Now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah. Huh. Well, I'll be darned.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, two different ride vehicles, but the same idea of being able to be in this big, giant green, and it even works for Soarin' too on different intensities. Huh. What a funny world we live in. What a funny universe.
Oh, Universe. See what you did there? Universal
Yeah.
Universe.
So, you know what, though? They made the comparison.
2023.
I feel like we made it enough to say that Forbidden Journey stands on its own. Soarin' and Flight of Passage, while as great as they are, might even be a better comparison to Simpsons.
Craig, I need you to tell me what the cheese stands alone is from.
Isn't it a nursery rhyme?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but what's the rest of the rhyme? Because I am having a really hard time concentrating without remembering the rest of it. The cheese stands alone.
Is it Three Blind Mice?
You know
It
what?
is. I think it is Three by My. Because in my head, I'm like, what is the
No.
lyric?
Yeah.
It's the spaghetti and
It's
meatball.
Hi Ho the Dario. It's the farmer in the dale, the farmer in the dale, hi ho the Dario, the farmer in the dale, the cheese stands alone.
Okay,
the
okay,
cheese
there it
stands
is. All right,
alone,
all right.
hi ho the Dario,
Sorry,
the
it
cheese
was one of
stands
those
alone.
things where I had just the little piece of that going in my head over and over and over and over again, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is like someone's nails scratching my brain right now."
What a dumb thing to say. It doesn't even make sense.
No, it doesn't. And I have in my entire life, I remember learning that song, being like, "I don't get it. Why is the cheese alone?
Oh.
And what does the cheese have to do with the rest of the story? Is it because the cow makes the cheese?"
I don't know. I'm embarrassed that I just even said it out loud. So,
Look for our new podcast, Goosen.
Goose going
we
through
break down
Mother
all the
Goose's nursery rhymes. Anyways, I'm going to give this to Forbidden Journey. They're getting the Crino for the cheese stands alone. The most singular attraction in a theme park goes to Forbidden Journey in this sense. So this next one is a stretch that I'm not even willing to take because it is comparing Harry Potter and the Escape from Gringotts with the not even finished building the Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind Coaster.
Be like.
We have no idea. So I'm going to take that one and throw in something that wasn't compared. I said comparison, but something that wasn't compared. I'm going to throw up Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure.
Barnstormer. Oh, no, wait.
Versus
I thought you were going to say the...
Slinky Dog Dash.
Obviously, the winner here is Hagrid's, but I do think they're of...
They're both family coasters.
Yeah.
That can be enjoyed by many ages. Not all ages, but many ages. There are multiple... there are launches that add that level of excitement in both. Hagrid's has a little bit more in terms of the intensity in that regards because, Hagrid's does have the spike. It has the section where you completely drop down. All your vehicles drop in a free fall drop. So a little bit more, but then both also have... it's some twists and turns. Obviously, Hagrid's got some of the animatronics and scenery that was sadly missing from Slinky Dog Dash, but I think they're a fair comparison.
I'd say that that's the closest thing at Disney to it. I think if the only other thing would be like Everest, but I don't even think. I think Everest is kind of different, but yeah. It's definitely Hagrid's, even if I was comparing it to Everest too. I would still pick Hagrid's, just so you know. I only threw in Everest because the Yeti is technically an animatronic, right?
Cool. He is.
Yeah.
I mean, a non-moving one, but he is. So with that comparison, it's a close one because I do enjoy. I get that
Slinky
dumb
Dog.
smile on my face every time I write Slinky Dog.
It always has that twist where you come around at the top and you're like, oh, this is way more intense than I thought it was.
Just go,
but not really. And you're like,
wee.
I also like the launch, the second launch.
Yeah. Here we go. Oh, man.
Hang on.
Okay, hang on. But yeah, I'm going to give it to Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure. They leave off with Flight of the Hippogriff, and they compared it to Goofy's Sky School.
Yeah.
Clearly, it's not. I'm hoping that they meant Barnstormer, and they just used Disneyland's Goofy Sky School as the name, but they meant the Barnstormer. I'm assuming that's what it meant because literally, like, Flight of the Hippogriff and then Woody Woodpecker's Nut House Coaster are the exact same as Barnstormer. So, which Barnstormer also stars Goofy. So, Goofy's one of the rare characters to have multiple roller coasters themed after him.
That's what you get when they draw you like a hobo.
Strong words from a strong man there. So, which would you rather have, a Hippogriff or a Barnstormer?
Hippogriff.
Any particular reason?
I think when I walk up to Flight of the Hippogriff, I think visually it's better themed with what it is. Goofy's only has the one part where you go through the body.
Oh, I'm all right. See, that to me is an easy comparison because Hippogriff is situated up on a hill, so you get this beautiful view looking out at Islands of Adventure, and especially like the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. Goofy Sky School, or gosh, now I'm stuck saying it because I'm reading it. The Barnstormer, what do you look at? Dumbo? You look at Mad Tea Party? You look at
Tron
Mine Train, saying, why couldn't I get that Mine Train Fast Pass? Instead, I'm stuck riding this little roller coaster right next door.
For 10 seconds.
So, Hippogriff all the way.
And if you're Craig, you'll get out of the ride before it's over.
Yep, happened once. Proud of it, too. Okay, so I'm going back to Forbidden Journey before we end this episode. Before we end it, going back to Forbidden Journey, and it was compared to Soarin' Flight of Passage. We gave it ultimately as the Cheese Stands Alone award to Forbidden Journey. But I think both Walt Disney World currently has a Cheese Stands Alone attraction, and so does Universal Orlando.
Rise of the Resistance.
Rise of the Resistance, the Cheese Stands Alone, versus Forbidden Journey at Universal, where the Cheese Stands Alone. Which is the ultimate Cheese Stands Alone attraction?
It's a tough one. I think I like Rise of the Resistance. I've only done Rise of the Resistance 4 times though. I've done Forbidden Journey like, I don't know, 100 something times at this point. Yeah. It's a tough one because the Kuka arm, I like that aspect and the animatronics, but there's a lot less screen stuff in the other. Well, there is screen stuff. They're not to say that there isn't. I don't know. It's a tough one.
It's a tough one, but
I think I think I'm leaning toward Rise maybe.
Yeah. It's hard because even when you look at the queue, I would feel like everything up to like and through the greenhouse portion of the queue is very similar to like when you're going through the Resistance Force in base.
Yeah.
But then once you hit the point where like you're going through Dumbledore's office and Defense Against the Dark Arts, that's essentially pre-shows along the same lines as something you would see with, in terms of the first briefing by Rey.
Right, yeah.
And yes, that's more impressive now because we've known the Harry Potter technology for so long and seen it in other stuff. But then they use that same kind of technology then when you're in the interrogation room with Kylo Ren and General Hux. So you even get that. You have the same idea. It's just in the middle, they throw in another little simulator ride, Rise of the Resistance, where Forbidden Journey does not have. And then...
Have you heard what happens when it doesn't work?
No.
It's terrible.
What
Okay,
happens?
so if that speaking of that little simulator ride, and this is where I think there's a little benefit here in the Harry Potter one, but they just walk you directly in from where Poe's X-Wing is outside of the Resistance base into the... what are those called? Star Destroyers.
Yeah. Ooh.
Like, I would probably be pretty furious. I'd be like, just let me come back.
Yeah. That seems like the type of mistake that would have to take the attraction down. But then if it's down,
That's what
then
it was
people get
supposed
mad.
to, I guess. Yeah, and it's that double-edged sword. And I'd rather be like told the attraction was down than go through it that way.
Yeah, I kind of have to side with you a little bit on that. But I guess ultimately, if you're breaking down the ride portion, Forbidden Journey or the ride portion of Rise of the Resistance, which would you rather have?
I don't know. I think Rise. I think Rise because even with all the lights on, you're still in the Star Destroyer and you're like, I could get out and roam around in here and it would be the coolest thing. Whereas like, unfortunately, I was on Forbidden Journey once and the lights came on and I do think it is incredibly impressive how that ride is made and perceived, and like lighting is a big part of that. But there's like nothing around you, even though you feel like you are fully enveloped.
The tough part for me is I think for a first time ride, the first time I rode Rise of the Resistance, the ride portion versus the first time I rode the ride portion of Forbidden Journey, I had no idea what was going on. I didn't know if I was on a roller coaster track. I didn't know. I knew it was obviously a simulator, but I had not researched the attraction. I knew nothing about it, so I didn't understand how I was making the movements.
Yeah, how were you going backwards?
I was doing and moving seamlessly into those carousel screens and such. Like I didn't understand how it was happening. Where Rise, it's pretty straightforward that okay, I'm in a trackless ride vehicle, and even though it is trackless, you can still clearly see the floor
where it's going to go.
It's going to go. It's just about the physical sets along the entire way, with then slightly using screens, whereas Forbidden Journey is a complete 50-50 mix of screens with animated sets at the same time too. But so for a first-time ride, I think Forbidden Journey is more impressive, but I think Rise of the Resistance has more re-rideability in the long run. So I would have to, for the Cheese Stands Alone award.
It's a tough one.
I think Rise of the Resistance would ultimately win the Cheese Stands Alone award. But I think the cheese still stands alone with Forbidden Journey too. If it was only your first ride and based all on that, I think Forbidden Journey's going to leave you asking more questions and leave you thrilled. But Rise of the Resistance,
I can see that. I would agree to that perspective. Yeah. There's not really a moment in the ride I guess I see what you're saying. 100%. I agree with that.
Good. So I'm calculating the totals. We have 1 for Universal. We have 2 for Universal. We have 1 for Disney. We have 2 for Disney. We have 3 for Disney. We have 4 for Universal. 5. Universal sneaks away with this one. 5-4.
Oh.
Hopefully. I mean, it kind of had to on this one. Otherwise, I don't think I don't think this show would be able to go on.
Yeah, I was going to say, what would be the point of
We gotta
having a
close up shop.
Universal
We
show?
tell you, just go to Disney. Get out, be gone with you. And of course, there's still plenty more comparisons. We didn't get into like Cali River Rapids versus Popeye and Bluto's Bill Trap barges. Of course, Dudley Do-Right Ripsaw Falls versus Splash Mountain. There's still plenty more. This is just the list they came up with. So I thought it would be fun to take all the hard work they did and then make it easy on us. So that is it. That's the Crino Awards for you. And just remember, the cheese stands alone in this one. So there's nothing else to say with this one except head over to disboards.com and get in on those discussions today about Universal Orlando, help you plan your next trip. And of course, you can also get help and guidance in planning your next Universal Orlando vacation by visiting dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. They're the experts can help you plan the perfect Universal Orlando vacation, including vacation packages, theme park tickets, hotel rooms only. They can help you with all of that. And, you know, they're going to look out for discounts to get you the best price as well with your Universal Orlando vacation. And they're all experts in Universal, the agents that we have selling it. So you don't even have to wonder, like, do they know anything at all? They do, trust me. So again, head over to dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. They can help you today. But that's going to do it for this episode. Of course, if you need any extra information, head over to disunplug.com, home of our show notes page for the show and all the others on the Dis Unplugged podcast network. And then you can find links to our social media and beyond. And if you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead, subscribe, hit that bell so you get notified when we have new videos. Leave us comments and questions and hit that thumbs up if you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or Spotify. Go ahead and make sure you are subscribed and leave us ratings and reviews when possible, please. So that is finally it for this episode. We'll see you again with another episode soon. But until, remember, we still haven't changed the name.